Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Lower Pod Podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Morgan, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. And today, we're going to be celebrating the release of Jurassic World Rebirth. That's right. I'm fucking excited for this. Expect a bonus episode later on, of course, with a full review of Jurassic World Rebirth. Because, my God, am I going to have lots of things to say as a lifelong Jurassic fan. I mean, fuck. Jurassic World hasn't... Well, Jurassic Park inspired me to become the career that I am today. Yes, I'm going for school for astronomy here pretty soon, but it has inspired me to become a biologist, which I have been, to work in the zoo field as a zookeeper, and, of course, vet field, work in a paleontology lab that I am right now doing. I volunteer in there every month, and do so much more. So it is only right we do an episode, of course, talking about the lore, because this is the Lore Pod Podcast. And, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about the lore for Jurassic Park, but we're going to be talking about the lore about something different, something you may have heard about if you're around my age. You know, I'm 28, and during this time we had Xbox games that come out and a video game company called Telltale, the game series where you get to choose what your character says, choose what your decisions are, and sometimes the outcome, the overall game, sometimes the outcome, just a little bit of what happens. And of course, so every decision does matter in the end. Now, those games, of course, are becoming very, very many different versions with many different famous IPs. Jurassic Park, though, was one of them. This is called Jurassic Park, the game. Not Jurassic World, the game. They can get on the fucking App Store right now and build a park. No. Jurassic Park, the game. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about the lore about this. But I should first off say, you should fucking play this game. It's available on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Totally worth any amount of money you spend. Totally worth your time, your dedication, all of it. So worth it. Now, to dive into the story of this game, I should also say, too, this is going to be a little bit of spoilers. So if you do want to play the game, fair warning, spoilers ahead. Of course, this is the lore. What the fuck you're doing there with that? Just looking at the history or something before playing it? I don't know. You should expect some spoilers. Now that that's out of the way, diving in. This game is, of course, made by Telltale Games, came out in 2011, is a choose-your-own-adventure sort of storyline, but in the end, it does. Your choices do affect your gameplay and your story, but it doesn't affect the total outcome in the end. So it does affect your time playing, it affects your character relationships as well, but it doesn't truly affect the outcome storyline, which we'll get to in a minute. The storyline does follow, though, a few different characters who, of course, do a fantastic meetup later on. We do have, though, Dr. Hardy, who is the veterinarian, though, on the island. And I should also say, though, before we get any further, let's be professional about this. This game does take place during the events of when everything went to shit on Jurassic Park in the first movie. And the first, it ties into the movie. I wouldn't say it ties too much into the book, but it does take book lore. We'll get to that later. But this ties into the first day, or the last day when they were there. Everything's hitting the fan and shit like that as well. The tour with the Triceratops, all that shit during that time. This is when it takes place. And then it takes place after that once they do leave. Once the main characters in the movie do leave. Of course, so we see Dr. Harding. He has brought his daughter along for the journey. So we have a child, of course. And the child is his daughter. And she's along just to be there. I don't know how the fuck she was able to get away with that with the amount of NDAs she had to sign. He's kind of showing it off. They talk about a divorce that's happened. And, you know, Jerry's a single dad trying to take one of his daughters out to the island, show the work he's doing. As an ex-zookeeper with hoof stock, I get that. Now, of course, so we do follow a mercenary team who is on the chase for Dennis Nedry, of course. But they're going to find him. And, of course, they're going to find him all fucking bladed up. They're at the boat, and they do wait for the call for Dodgson to get through. Eventually, they realize Nedry's not coming, so they have to go find him. That's part of the reason why some of the characters do run into each other, though. But boy, oh boy, do we have some dinosaurs in this one, because, of course, there's run-ins with the Dilophosaurus. We do find out that there is loads more Dilophosaurus on the island, about 7 or so. And we'll get to the dinosaur species later on as well. We do also follow some of the crew of the InGen Rescue mercenaries, who wear some dope-ass green vests. And has some good history there as well. So Nina and some of the Marcus there, the guys who are part of the mercenary group, they were actually, and you do find out, part of the mercenary from Dodgson's, mercenary from InGen. Those people are, some of the people there are actually residents, the indigenous people to the island of Isla Nublar before InGen took them out. And through these characters, you do learn about how there was Goat Pass, there was ancient ruins, all this sort of shit there before InGen made it the theme park. But they also had no idea about it, and you also did find out there was a whole civil war that kind of happened too with Huey helicopters and shit. A wild amount of time. So we follow that group, and then we also follow, of course, other characters we do meet up with, which are some of the other staff, some of the geneticists and animal caretakers for the island of Jurassic Park. And we do get a clear understanding, though, through this whole story. We do explore the underground transport tunnels, the engineering tunnels, the power plant for the geothermal. We do see some of the rides, like a roller coaster that wasn't quite finished yet. So we're able to explore a lot of that. We also explore the Parasaurolophus, who are in Isla Nublar in a separate area as well. They are doing some behavior research for these animals. And, of course, so we've got to talk about the lysine contingency and put in a whole anti-lysine contingency cocktail into the main water supply. We also are privy to find out that some raptors did survive. Not many, around 2 or 3, but they did survive. And the Rex during this whole time does follow everybody as well throughout the game. And you do see the aftermath. Of course, in the very beginning of this game, you see the aftermath of the visitor center and have to deal with the T-Rex in the visitor center. Some of those are the characters. There's some story highlight points. Some other story highlight points include finding out that the aquatic section was there, kept very top secret from everyone there, like Dr. Sorkin and such, aka one of the doctors there who you do meet. And it is home to, as they say, a mosasaur, but it is a Tylosaurus, as we find out. And you do have to go diving with it, and it is fucking terrifying going diving in there. We are also privy to knowing that there was some genetic animals in there that didn't make the cut, a.k.a. the Troodons, a realistic dromaeosaur dinosaur. But the problem is, when they built them, they had a venom in their mouth that did make it so they're extremely venomous. They're neurotoxin, paralyzed and such, that you will even take bodies and take foliage and make the bodies a nest for their eggs. They're like gray bodies, black dots, bright white eyes, and a red fucking stomach, and they are terrifying with all their terrifying sound. And they were supposed to be destroyed, according to Wu and Hammond, but Dr. Sorkin couldn't endanger a whole species. Though, on the other hand, as a wildlife biologist, I can definitely say, just kill that fucking monster where it stands, because you can't have that. And, of course, so we do run into other dinosaurs, which were in the book, but not in the movie, which were the Herrerasaurs. Dromaeosaurid, they were red, with a little bit of the brown spots on them, kind of showing off a little bit of the coloration of the T-Rex from the novels, if you know your shit, during a whole thing. But in the end, though, we are actually privy to, as I won't say what happens too much with the characters themselves, but in the end, we are privy to the ending where, I can't say what happens to some certain characters and what happens near the end. All you need to know is the bombing that happens in the first novel, because yes, what happened in the first novel was InGen that lied to the Costa Rican government, the Costa Rican Air Force, which at the time, and time I was recording, I think, doesn't exist, but the Costa Rican Air Force was made aware. They made deals with them, saying, there's biological viruses on there. You need to bomb that fucking shit to Kingdom Come. And so instead of just trying to reclaim everything and show what they had done to the world, InGen told a lie. So at the end of the first novel, all the survivors are witness to the bombing of Isla Nublar, and even the juvenile Rex screaming its ass off, which we will cover one day in a video on this podcast. And in the end of this game they are fighting to survive and get off the fucking island because the bombing run is coming. And that is how it ends. Survivors do get off the island, of course, with a little bit extra there. But again, you'll have to play the game to find that one out. Now, of course, so I do have to say, of course, this game is not canon anymore. This game, the Mount Sibo, being the geothermal plant, all the information like that, a lot of the loads of lore were taken and put into Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, like the volcano and such. Now, though, what happened, and kind of, I would say the mosasaur probably from that video game as well, too. But what happened? Well, with that ending that the whole island was fucking bombed at the very end there, and you know it wasn't if in the Jurassic World movies there, because even the original T-Rex is still there and alive, and she survives all 3 movies, even going on the mainland. So we know the game isn't canon anymore. But this is still lore. This is still a story for you to enjoy and you to play. So be sure to go play Jurassic Park the game wherever you can, everybody. I've been your host, Dakota Morgan. Be sure to subscribe on whatever you're listening on, whether it's lorepod.podbean.com, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, or whatever third-party app you're using. Subscribe. Leave us a review. It It helps us out greatly. And, of course, as always, I'm on social media, X at Dakota Morgan 3, Instagram at Dakota Morgan _97, and, of course, we are at Twitch, CodaRex97. All this is going to be in the description box down below, everybody. And, of course, as always, folks, be sure to go see Jurassic World Rebirth in the theaters. I will see you there and may or may not be buying a popcorn bucket / drink. And, of course, as always, stay creative, everyone.